and welcome to TWF Dynamite or Might. I, Michael Cole, with Tony Schiavone and with Taz, and today on Dynamite or Might. Yesterday, Seth Rollins beat Braun Strowman, Michael Cole says, and his goal to become the TWF heavyweight fighter is still forlonging, even though he lost the rights due to what King Caesar did, Michael Cole says. You got that right, Tony says, and I think Braun Strowman might want to get even on Seth Rollins for what happened yesterday on NXT, and I don't know if it will happen here today on Dynamite or Might. You know, I can tell you one thing right now, Taz says, Michael and Tony. I don't know who's going to get even on who. I don't know if Seth Rollins will get even. I don't know if Braun Strowman will get even on Seth Rollins or not. But Braun Strowman should have taken up Seth Rollins and Paulie dangerously on that deal. But no, he chose not to. And now he's in a bind now. What? Well, that need be true, Michael Cole says. That need be true. But Braun Strowman will get even on Seth Rollins one way or another. We just don't know when, but we know it will happen. Well, Michael Cole says, Michael Cole, I'll tell you one thing. If it does happen, Tony Schiavone says, it will be that Seth Rollins and Paulie dangerously brought it on their heads. You know, that will be, at the end of the day, it will be because they put themselves in that bind by going after Seth Rollins. Going after Braun Strowman. Tony Schiavone says, well, Taz says, we got Seth Rollins here, we got Paulie dangerously here, and I think Seth Rollins, he thinks very high of himself, mostly after he beat Braun Strowman yesterday on NXT. Alright, Seth Rollins says, so now you know why I'm here. I'm going to call out the two folks that have, I'm going to call out the two folks who somehow, some way got the rights to fight, Asuka for the TWF heavyweight winnings. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Taylor, and I'm talking about you, Arrow. I don't know how you both got the rights, but you'll have to know that you cannot live and deal with me. Oh, yeah, Paulie dangerously says, Seth Rollins, you will curve stomp everyone. He'll take out Taylor, he'll take out Arrow, and then he'll be the one who gets to fight for the TWF heavyweight winnings. Is that right? Taylor says. For long, because, yeah, how are you going to do that? I'm gouged in a boundary. Shit. Yeah. You are the two men. You are the two folks. Stand up. Stand up. You're the two folks that we've been looking for. Yeah. Somehow you think, Taylor, that you winning gouged in the boundary, somehow you think that gives you the right to take on Asuka. And somehow, Arrow, you seem to think that you have the right to take on Asuka. Well, the only right goes to Seth Rollins. First off, I won gouged in the boundary, which gives me the right to take on Asuka, or whoever the TWF heavyweight fighter happens to be, for 1 year and a half. Paulie dangerously. and Ric Flair and the TWF TWF leadership team named me as the one to fight Oscar next. Seth Rollins and Paulie Dangerously. You two seem to think, in your mind, you seem to think that Seth Rollins is the only one who should have the right to fight for the TWF heavyweight winnings. But then if I do start to think, Arrow says, didn't Ric Flair say no one could be in the match? What happens? King Caesar comes in the match, takes down Oscar, and Seth Rollins lost his luck to run for it again. Yeah, Taylor says. So don't be coming out here being irked and angered about how you lost your right to fight for the TWF heavyweight winnings when you didn't listen to the oversight. Yeah, for glasses. And at the end of the day, whose mistake is that? Well, it's not my mistake, Taylor says. Yeah, and it's not my mistake, Arrow says. But if you want to have a match with both of us, so we can both beat you up and out wrestle you and out fight you, hey, that's alright with us. You know, look, Seth Rollins says, I didn't come here for a fight. I came here to warn you both. That only Seth Rollins has the right. Tell me, how does Seth Rollins have the right to fight for the TWF heavyweight winnings, Paulie Dangerously, when I told him if anyone did anything in a match, he would lose his right to fight Oscar? What happened? What happened? King Caesar came in the match, and I told it not to happen. So, if anyone can guilt Seth Rollins, you and Paulie Dangerously can guilt and shame King Caesar, because he's the one that made it where you can't have a match now. But since you're out here, and since you think you're the greatest wrestler, the greatest fighter, the greatest overstar there ever was, why don't you take on both of them? Take on Taylor and Arrow here today on Dynamite or Mike. Now, how do you think of that? Woo! Get back here. You can't put my man Ric Flair, you can't put my man in a match like that. Paulie Dangerously says Seth Rollins is a well-on-looked wrestler or fighter or overstar. Ow. And you can't do that. That's unfair, Taz says. Now Seth Rollins is in a handicap match, and he gets nothing out of it except getting beat up, except wrestling or fighting Arrow. That's unfair. Well, Seth Rollins came out and started talking about how he's the only one that should have the right to wrestle and fight for the TWF heavyweight winnings. And sadly, he could show it all. Seth Rollins, he can show it. And now, Arrow did a spin kick like Savio Vega did in his time in WWE and IWA. Also in WWE, and the WC as well. And now he's down. And now Taylor also doesn't want to outdo him. And Taylor wants to do the splash like Flash Funk used to do all those years. Oh, Michael Cole says. Well, Tony Schiavone says, Ric Flair didn't say any, said Michael Cole. Well, I'm going to tell you, Michael, Rick did not say anything about Arrow or Taylor fighting each other or wrestling each other. So it's really a handicap match. Tony Schiavone says, but if he is as good as he says he is, then then he should get himself out of this bind, Tony Schiavone says. This is not right. How did he end up getting put in the ring with both Arrow and Taylor? It's wrong, Taz says. This isn't right. You got to be fair to Seth Rollins here. Well, Tony Schiavone said no one's going to be fair to Seth Rollins. And Taylor comes in, right? No one's going to be fair to Seth Rollins right now. And Seth Rollins wanted to curb stomp down Taylor, and he did, Michael Cole says. Look out, Tony Schiavone says. It looks like he's going to curb stomp Arrow as well. Both men, he warned them, both of them, that he believes he should be the one fighting for the TWF heavyweight winnings, Tony Schiavone says. He can believe it all he wants, Michael Cole says. It's not happening, and he can thank King Caesar for why it's not happening. 1, 2, and only a kick out. Well, Michael Cole said it'll take more than a side stomp to beat Taylor and Arrow. And Arrow's getting back up now. Arrow got Seth Rollins. Oh, Arrow just gave Seth Rollins the pedigree, whatever the English word for that would be. And now Taylor just took down Seth Rollins with her own side stomp, Michael Cole says. They call it slight to wounding, Tony Schiavone says, when two of Seth Rollins' end holds get done to him in one match, Tony Schiavone says. And now Taylor and Seth Rollins now Taylor and Ford both going to beat Seth Rollins. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. Here is your winner. Here are your winners, Arrow and Taylor. Well, Taylor Aragon and Arrow, both won the right, both have the rights to fight Asuka for the TWF heavyweight winnings, Michael Cole says. And unless Ric Flair feels sorry for Seth Rollins, he might give him another match. But then again, we do not know, Michael Cole says. Yeah, Tony Schiavone said, at the end of the day, I don't really think anyone's going to feel sorry for Seth Rollins. He put himself in that bind. And I guess he's not the world's greatest wrestler or greatest overstar if he didn't win against those two matches. Well, Taz said he only came out to warn Taylor Aragon. He only came out to warn Arrow. He didn't want to wrestle Taylor Aragon or Arrow. That was all Ric Flair's doing. Well, speaking of that, Taz says, well, that's true. Speaking of that, Michael Cole says, we got Mike today, and he's going to be talking with Ric Flair. Shit, man. Oh. Thank you, Michael Cole and Tony Schiavone. I'm going to be talking with Ric Flair here today on Dynamite or Mike. Alright, Ric Flair. You've been the main overseer of the TWF for a short time. And Seth Rollins has always kept on bitching about why he's not fighting for the TWF heavyweight winnings. I made it flawlessly understood, Mike, that if Paulie Dangerously, or anyone else, King Caesar, who's also with them, would be in the match, Seth Rollins would lose his right to fight for the TWF heavyweight winnings. In that match, King Caesar showed up, so Seth Rollins lost his right to wrestle for the TWF heavyweight winnings. Now, him and Paulie Dangerously, they can spin it however way they want to spin it. But at the end of the day, my oversight still stands. You also had Seth Rollins wrestle Arrow and also Taylor Aragon both of them, who both have the right to fight Asuka for the TWF heavyweight winnings. Yeah, well, Seth Rollins came out and started telling them he's the world's greatest wrestler, and everyone should fear him, and started warning everyone. And I said, put your mouth where your gout is, and I put him in the match. And he couldn't back up what he said. So, when will Asuka fight Arrow? When will Asuka fight Taylor? Well, sometime this month, I believe, is when Arrow and Asuka will meet. And any time between now and next year is when Asuka and Taylor will meet. Alright, that's my talk with Ric Flair, the main overseer of TWF. Back to you, Michael Cole and Tony Schiavone. Well, thank you, Mike, today for talking with Ric Flair here today on Dynamite or Mike. And that's all the time we got here for Dynamite or Mike. I, Michael Cole, with Tony Schiavone and with Taz, we hope you like Dynamite or Mike, and we'll see you tomorrow for Impact or Hit.